I always BS beforehand. That's what it's all about. And that's what it's all about. Yay! This is so
I
much easier when I have a guest on that I've already had on before and someone that I talk to on a regular basis, quite
so
consistently. We nearly talk every single day, Larry.
yeah.
And you've been on the podcast before. Don't ask me what number episode because I'm in like a renumbering phase right now to where the YouTube episodes are staying kind of how they are with like the bangers and the bonuses, and the main episodes are being numbered in that order. But then on the actual like feed on like Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else, I went through and I renumbered every single episode, and I would just put parentheses to what that episode would be if it was like a bonus or a banger or whatever. So then I still track numbers. So if you're on YouTube, there's a number for that episode. That's going to be 20 to 25 to 30 episodes less or more, less than what you're going to find on Spotify or Apple. But Larry, you're the host of As Dad as It Gets, or one of the hosts of As Dad as It Gets podcast. We're pretty cool
Yep.
friends. Pretty cool friends. I mean, you're a cool guy. Uh, and you're back once again. And yeah, how are things? How's life?
You just made me remember that. So for As Dad as It Gets, I stopped numbering my episodes, and then we decided we're gonna do it in seasons. So now I have to go back and be like season 1, episode 1, season 2, episode 2, and I don't want to do that now.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
no,
even try with YouTube.
it was a labor of love to do it. I'm also thinking about re-recording my intro,
Yeah,
but I
we
just haven't gotten that far yet.
we do individual intros.
Oh, I mean like
What I like to,
not intro, trailer.
oh, okay. I was gonna say what I like to do for each episode for As Dad as It Gets is so like we have our small talk section at the very beginning, and
Hmm.
then typically what I'll do is I'll be like, so welcome to As Dad as It Gets, the podcast where like we buy new hats or something like that because you got a new hat.
I like it. No, I did. I really like this hat. I got it yesterday at Lids for $10. So it's
Yeah,
super.
we don't have a Lids
It's
where I
actually
live.
really
I think the closest
unfortunate.
Lids is Nashville, which is an hour and a half away.
Oh, that's disappointing. I mean, not really. Lids is
Yeah.
kind of overrated. But they had a big clearance sale going on, and I just had to stop in. I made my fiance go in there with me after she made me go to. Okay, no, it was fair because she made me go to Sephora, and then she made me go to Bath and
Yeah.
Body Works, even though I low key love Bath and Body Works, but I don't love
Oh,
Sephora.
dude. So let me tell you why I love Bath and Body Works. That is
Please.
the only place in the world that you can fart and nobody would smell it.
Okay, I really like the men's collection of stuff though. At the same time, I like shocked the worker there because she
Yeah.
was gonna hand me a sample of this cologne called Canyon, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't need that. I already have it." She was like, "What?"
I like their the bourbon scent.
The bourbon's good. I have bourbon. I have a whole
Yeah.
collection. Like I legit have 15 Bath and Body Works colognes that I've had. One of them, or a few of them, I've had since college, and so they're in different bottle shapes than what they come in now. They came in these like I don't even know how to describe it. It was like an oval-ish almost, it's like a U shape kind of. It's like a U shaped bottle. It's about
Yeah.
an inch thick, and they're totally different than the squares that they come in now. They used to be in these thin cardboard. It's like a throwback kind of thing. But last time you were on, Larry, it was July of 2023. We're recording this in January of 2024. It's basically February at this point, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And or 2024. I just said it's 2023 still. Oh my god. Um,
Yeah, 2024.
but this may
It's
not come
early.
out for a while.
Till July.
It could be just a July until this comes out, but that's okay. And then I was on your podcast. I don't know, a couple months ago.
Yeah. So you'll be our second episode once we start airing in February.
Very nice. I'm excited for that. So it's a lot of fun. It's been a wild and crazy ride. I mean, that was technically episode 63 of mine. and now fast forward, this will be 111 when it comes out.
You just record nonstop, don't you?
I feel like I do, which is kind of its own double-edged sword, which is kind of catching up to me. Kind of like I was talking about in our Discord, shameless plug of the Discord. Um, to where, like, because I have a Calendly, I only open it
Yeah.
for about 2 months at a time. Like, the last opening I did was, I guess I was going until like November. But then what happened over that break of November and December is that I gained, and I'm not trying to like brag or anything, but I gained like over 100 new Instagram followers, and I gained
No,
a
go ahead
ton
and
of
brag.
engagement on Threads. And so out of nowhere, like I had all these new people to talk to.
Right.
And so I would just
I
throw in
forget
my
about
calendar link.
Threads.
I just kept throwing my calendar link at people, and then January 1st came around and it was time to meet my maker, and met the Calendly, and I can't even tell you how many recordings I've done this month. I'm pretty sure I recorded nearly every day of the new year almost, which has been
Yeah.
insane.
I do you worry about burnout with that? Because it's going like really hard on recording and editing and posting and social media.
So this is the 19th recording of the month. Sorry, I was counting that.
No, you're
So
good.
this is the 19th recording of January. So out of more than half the days, right? And so
Yeah.
I do, like, I'm kind of feeling it, but I'm kind of not, because it gives me a lot of juice. It gets me up early. It gets me going. It gets me like motivated. It gets me excited because I love what I'm talking about here. I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I love what I'm talking about. I love the narratives. I love the conversations. I love all of it. But yes, at the same time, I definitely do worry about the burnout because it does feel like a lot, or I'll forget things. Like yesterday, I'm really glad I use Riverside for recording.
Right.
I don't think I've ever talked about what platform I use really, but I use Riverside. Riverside's fantastic because it has like AI editing, which is fantastic. It takes the silences out, which are the main thing that I would have to go back and look for anyway. Sometimes I have to change the words, or sometimes I have to edit out like some talking over, things like that. But for the most part, I don't. I've never really cared too much about like what being removed or what's being edited out or things like that, gimmicks, sound effects, all that stuff. I've never really worried about it. It's never really been a big deal. That kind of goes back to the when I very first started making content, even like blogs and whatnot, when it was just like a rough edit. It was choppy. It was rough. It was real rough. I got a lot of hate. Got a lot of people that were grammar Nazis trying to correct my
Yeah.
my blogs and whatnot, and it was just. Then I invested in Grammarly, and I have a nice big investment in Grammarly. So Grammarly, if you ever want to reach out, feel free. I would love to not pay that absurd price for my yearly membership, but I mean I use it so much, it's worth it to me to
Yeah.
continually pay that. But yeah, it was always kind of going back to when I first started content, when I would listen to a lot of Gary Vee. I'm sure everyone's listened to Gary Vee, where it's just like, just post a video. Who cares about the lighting? Who cares about the thing? It's not about all those extra things. It's about the message that you're posting. So that's one thing that I've always believed, is that it's more about the quality of the things being said versus the quality of the output. Like if you really want to stay and listen, you'll stay and listen because you know the quality of the content is going to be great versus, well, maybe it's not the best well edited thing. Maybe there's, echo cancellations on, noise cancelling's on, background noise is removed, silences are removed out. Like there are a lot of like little things done. Like my lighting's gotten better, my camera's decent. Like it's not blurry or anything when it goes on the YouTube. Like it's a quality video,
Yeah.
everything in that. So it's like I check enough boxes for it to be good enough. Where it's not okay enough, I feel like it's good enough. So that's kind of where I am. But yeah, the burnout definitely there sometimes because going back, listening. Riverside's also great because it does give you AI like shorts, reels, TikToks. It does it for you. It adds chapters now for me. It adds the description of the show for me, which really helps going in and like making the recordings a lot easier to introduce the podcast itself. So when you listen, like everyone listen to this one, if you listen to the show before, I give a little bit of what the show's about in the intro, and then I tell you who the pineapple offender of the week is, and then we jump into the podcast itself, and then I'll do a plug at the very end, a product or brand or someone that I'm working with currently, and yeah. So yeah, there's some of it that gets a little annoying, more or less. It's just tedious to make those
Yeah.
reels and to post them to 3 different platforms. I'm posting them to Facebook. I'm posting them to Meta entities, and then I'm posting them to YouTube, and then I'm posting them to TikTok. So it's just cross
And
posting,
those
cross
things add
promoting
up
is annoying.
really quick.
Yeah, because one
Like,
video can
just,
take 3-4 minutes, and I'm posting 7 videos a week. So that's like
yeah.
20-30 minutes of just time, and it's mundane, it's boring. Titles, links, copy, paste, copy, paste. And if I get distracted at all, or copy and paste the wrong thing, then I have to go back and fix it. And then with Meta, you have to pick your
Yeah.
time. Like YouTube, I always just go for midnight of that day. Best traction. I don't know why.
Right.
Just midnight works for YouTube. So I just go with midnight. TikTok,
I do I do random times for postings. It's like 3:17 in the morning just to keep people on their toes,
I like it.
and it's
I like
never
it.
the same.
I like it. No,
I
mine come out at the same time every day.
my biggest issue is like the social media burnout or content burnout. Like I'm constantly like, can I take an hour of this, or 40 minutes, and can I take this topic and stretch it out to 40 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll start recording, and I've realized that I've gone through all my notes in like 15 minutes. I'm like, well, crap. And
Yeah, what else?
with some sometimes with the other guys on As Dad as It Gets, I feel like I take a lot of the talking and stuff, because this is like my 6th podcast, and this is their
Mm-hmm.
first. So they don't talk as much as I do, especially when there are guests on. And I try to encourage them to talk, but sometimes it's like pulling teeth. With I love them, but I wish they would talk more.
I feel that. And that's
'Cause
kind of why I like started kind of restructuring like how I will go through like a regular show with a lot of people, with a lot of guests.
yeah,
Like hence you've seen the questionnaire.
yeah,
There's a spot on there for a little bit about what fatherhood or being a parent means to you. There's a spot on there talking about like a hot button issue, and then there's a mental, emotional, behavioral health issue that I like to talk about too. So I like to hit those 3 aspects. Kind of guides us through. Definitely, sometimes different areas take longer, or different guests have different backgrounds, which is really cool. So the tangents just go into tangents and into like long form like conversations, which is really cool. It's really nice to really get deep into a topic. Sometimes it doesn't get as deep as I like. Sometimes some guests are really hard to talk to for the first 10 minutes or so to get them comfortable, to get them to start opening up. Their answers are short, and then it's more like I gotta try to push more questions or fill a little bit of dead space or ramble a little bit,
yeah.
which is totally fine. I love hearing myself talk. I mean, if
I
you
hate
have a
hearing
podcast,
myself. I hate it.
true, but if you have a podcast and you're doing a podcast, I mean, at least for myself, maybe I can't speak for everyone, but for myself at least, I'm a little vain. I like hearing myself talk. I like seeing myself do the thing. Like, it's a lot of pride for me to go back in and see, like, man, I'm doing it. Like, I'm growing. Like, the numbers are growing. Like, this last week, you know, the impressions are up on Spotify, the plays are up, the followers are up, the audience size is up. Like, I see things tangibly growing, which is really
Yeah.
exciting. Instagram's growing, Breads is growing. X, I don't think X is ever going to grow.
X is dying.
Yeah, X is dying, so I don't really post on X.
Yeah.
They do have a new program out right now that they're trying to get more video content. But I honestly think Elon has like a really big plan for X. He just had to trim it down and cut it down to the studs, and now he's rebuilding it and reprogramming it into a bigger platform to where he'll end up capturing like a lot of the audience from. He'll probably end up buying out like Truth Social or all these other smaller ones to
Yeah.
merge them all into his platform. I think he has a really, really, really big plan for it all because he's a businessman, right? He has a
I
businessman.
don't think I don't think he has a plan at all. I think he just got lucky with a couple things and just kind of went with it. Like if you look at how he's running X, so he said he wanted to buy Twitter, and then he started trying to back out, and the FCC's like, no, you already said you're going to buy it, so you have to. So they forced him to buy it, and I feel like now he's throwing a tantrum and trying to run it in the ground as a result. I don't think that man has a plan on anything. Because like he's done a lot of sketchy stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like as soon as he took over X, he fired a lot of people, and then when something breaks, he's like, "Oh, we need to get someone to fix this," and you can't. You fired all those people, and then the people that are remaining, he's like, "Okay, you better get used to having no life because I'm going to work you to death." And then he fires the cleaning staff of the building. He stops paying rent in the building for X's headquarters. There was the stunt with the giant X logo that he did not have a permit for, and the people across the street were trying to sleep, and it was like that episode of Seinfeld with the light.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I don't think that man has a plan for anything. He does have an odd fascination with the letter X. I mean, and I think because he thinks it sounds cool.
I think part of that's that. I think he's just. I mean, it's Elon Musk. I mean, Tesla, robots, Cybertrucks, all these things that we see that he's doing, and he's the mastermind behind and the mind behind SpaceX. You know, all these things.
But he didn't create those things. He just he bought those things after they were created. So he made his fortune with PayPal. That's where he got lucky and got money. And then after that, he bought Tesla, which was already created, and he was like, all right, this is where the future is. And then the Tesla truck is like the worst thing ever. It looks like a PS1 video game truck.
No, but they're actually so cool though. They're actually so cool. They're so cool. Like this is big old hunk of steel that goes 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds.
But when those things break, they break. Like there's no small fixes for anything Tesla.
No, there's not. And it was. Have you seen the movie on Netflix, the one that the Obamas produced, The End of the World or whatever?
Was that with Adam Conover?
I think that's his so. Name. What's that called? Let me look it up.
My dog's in the background demanding attention. So if you hear breathing or pitter patter, that's what she been needy.
Which one is it?
But in reality, Musk also got lucky with SpaceX because the government had just stopped funding NASA, or like NASA had broke, or something about NASA stopped, and SpaceX is like, we'll take over this stuff. But he's been promising things like, we're going to go to Mars for a long time. And then you look at the logistics of it, like, we can go to Mars right now. We can't survive, not because there's no oxygen or anything. Like, they have a machine that creates oxygen on Mars. It's more along the lines of like, there's no atmosphere, so you have to worry about things like cosmic radiation and things like that. So True. he has no idea what he's going to do with that. He's just going to keep promising stuff.
Well, I guess we'll see. Because I don't know. I think there's more going on. Of course, we're just common folk. We're not led on to all the big things going on. But the movie I was talking about was Leave the World Behind. There's a scene in there that the Teslas get hacked, and they're all being driven to like end the. Let me see if I can find the Tesla scene because it's super
So it's pretty much
interesting.
Maximum Overdrive.
Pretty much.
I don't know if you've seen or read that book.
Okay, hold on. Let me put it up on the screen. I've never read that book.
It's a good movie too. It was a movie in the 80s. Stephen King.
But yeah, here we'll play this real quick. This is
Uh-oh.
so yeah, all the Teslas pretty much get hacked, and they're all just self-driving and crazy, and yeah, but super fun. But enough about Elon Musk.
It's a nightmare. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's
He gets
some
enough
content.
media.
There's some content burnout, honestly. Does from time to time get a little bit mundane. But let's talk about this. You the other day did a recording, and I'll tease it out a little bit. But talking about, or no, before we get into that, one thing that I've like kind of, when it comes to like the content and the burnout and whatnot, I've had to force myself kind of back into a more creative state beyond the fatherhood stuff because it's been really hard. Like I've been trying to get back into the sports stuff a bit. I've been wanting to get back into like my writing and my books and be able to do that stuff, but I feel like I'm almost stagnant. Like I'm kind of just treading the same waters. Like I'm just going around this really small pool. And
Right.
the pool's a lot bigger than I think it is. Like the walls are coming in. I just watched Night Swim, so that was a whole thing a couple weeks ago.
I want to watch that.
It's okay.
It looks good.
It has some jump scare moments, but overall, it's a pretty cool story. It's creepy. It's creepy. But yeah. Anyways, what was I saying? I've kind of had a jump start. Yeah, so I feel stagnant. I've had to kind of jump start myself back into like bigger, broader creativity kind of thing because I've been doing the same. 20 days this month, I've recorded about the same topic versus maybe 2 days,
Right.
I've taken a half hour, 45 minutes to talk about sport or basketball or anything like that. Or I haven't really taken any time to do really anything else except for like Young Dad podcast stuff, which is totally okay. Like this is like my main thing. It's definitely taking over numbers wise, my sports and whatnot. It definitely dominates like most of my attention because it just kind of does. So yeah, I just feel like I'm kind of treading. So I kind of had to jumpstart myself. I actually signed up for group coaching. Actually, Matt hosted Girl Dad Nations in this group coaching as well. So it's super cool. We're doing this group coaching with Brian Ward, host of the Dad Up podcast, and our challenge for this week was to make time for ourselves for like reflection or creativity or time for us to like unwind or like self-reflect or like sit in silence or whatnot. So I took that as an opportunity to kind of jumpstart myself into, okay, how do I use this to like be more intentional with like what I'm doing and what I'm posting? So I forced myself to start journaling and posting it over on my website. And so at the time of this recording, I'm 3 days in to that. But I used that time in the morning to kind of jumpstart myself, to get myself thinking just bigger picture. I guess my focus is narrowed to this one path, this one thing, and that's kind of what's more or less burning me out than anything else, is that I'm so jump started and focused on this one thing. I'm losing sight of all these other things, I guess. My path narrowed versus my path expanding.
Yeah. So with with my podcast, As Dad as It Gets, and even with your podcast, Young Dad Pod, like they're really good because they're like extremely focused on one subject, and that's parenting, being a dad or a mom, but on the same side of that coin, it's focused on one thing. So it's hard to not get burnout on that subject, because as a content creator, you are having to try and keep things fresh and new while staying on target. Like, most content creators, like video game creators and stuff like that, they have niches that do well for them, and
Mhm.
it's like, say you're a survival video game creator, you've got all of these survival games that you can play, so you have a little bit of change there. Like, for us, it has to be that subject, it has to be related to parenting or being a dad, and I feel like that's very constricting and can make things very, like, the walls are closing in. My big issue with being a content creator is imposter syndrome. So, like, I'll sit there and I'll record this, and I'll get a YouTube like an Instagram reel that gets 5,000 likes, and I'm like, this is just I this isn't me. Like, I'm not that good, kind of thing. But that's my biggest issue as a content creator, is trying to get over the fact, and it's like, I do belong here. I create content that some people like. We got 8% increase in followers on Apple Podcasts, and
Nice.
It's doing good, but I need to convince myself that I'm worthy of that kind of thing. Like, I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. And I think a lot of those problems, especially with the imposter syndrome, is like being an adoptive dad versus natural birth dad. One of the things that so many people say is, "You're a real dad," and it's like, okay, you wouldn't say that to someone who had a biological child. So I feel like that instills, it's like, maybe they don't think I'm real, and that carries over to my content a lot. Those are my issues as a content creator.
No, I can see that for sure. Like,
yeah,
because like I'm just this regular dude. I've been through a divorce, like so many other men out there. A co-parent, like so many other men out there. Like, I'm no different. I'm no better. I'm no different. Like, if anything, like, I don't have a deep, sultry, beautiful voice like Jerome from Everyday Parents podcast. I don't have.
dude, it is so sultry.
It is. I don't have
It's
a
like
radio
mocha
perfect.
to the ears.
It is. It's so good. I love you, Jerome. Jerome, shout out to you. Shout out to Everyday Parents podcast. Everyday Parents podcast, A Day in the Life podcast, hosted by Caitlin and Jerome. They're fantastic. Go and check them out. They're awesome. But yeah, it's so, I don't know. Like, I have a speech impediment. I am not beautiful by any means. I'm not hitting the sex appeal box for YouTube for content promotion at all. Like, I have,
like, all the things that Jerome's hitting.
Yeah, he hits all the boxes. Like, he literally has it all. Like,
yeah,
like Caitlin.
It's like, I'm fat, balding, and I got a Barney Rubble laugh.
Yeah,
he's just got like.
He's got the beard, the hair, the face, the voice. Like, I think we have pretty big man crushes on Jerome, and that's okay. It's okay. We love you, Jerome. Shout out to you.
He has no idea.
No idea, and he won't hear this forever. And I doubt Caitlin actually tells him all the things from Discord.
She's probably like, these guys are weird.
Yeah, probably. She's like, what am I doing here? And yeah, it's like, I don't belong here. Like, I'm not super hot. I'm like a 6 at best on a good day because I'm funny. No, how my dad phrased it once, and this will always stick with me, and I still give him crap. He's like, Jay, you're a 4, but you're funny, so you're like a 6 or a 7.
That's how I got my wife to marry me. Like, she's out of my league, but I'm funny.
Dude, my coworkers, I got complimented by my coworkers the other day. They were like, I don't know how you do it, but like, you got pull. Like, respect to you, you got pull. Like, They were like,
Yeah.
they're like, we randomly saw like a picture of like your ex or whatnot, and uh, we know who your fiance is now, and it's like respect, like you got pulled. Like we don't know how, but you got pulled. And
They,
like I'm not the guy. Like I'm not the guy that should be the one doing about talking about this. You know, the followers, the engagements, all this stuff. Like that's not me. That was never supposed to be me. I'm supposed to be the sports guy. I was always told myself I will be the sports guy, the baseball guy, the beat writer guy, the blogger dude. I'm not going to put my face in front of a camera unless it's for 60 seconds, not for hours on, and not for 110 freaking hours am I going to put my face all over the internet to the point where I could easily be deepfake if you really wanted to. No one wants to deepfake me, though. I'm not that cool. Um, so, yeah.
like they might deep fake me into like a KFC commercial or something.
Honestly, they might deepfake me into like a speech therapy ad, probably.
But see, that's the thing, is it's like in your head you're like, you know, for me it's like I'm in a small town in Tennessee. I'm not talented or anything like that. But then you look at the people, it's like they need to see that. They need to see the average people doing all this stuff or talking to. I think it makes them more relatable, like us, our content more relatable. Because if you look
100%.
at like Ryan Reynolds, if he were to do a podcast, it's like, yeah, people will listen to it because it's Ryan Reynolds, but people won't relate to it
Mm-mm.
because it's Ryan Reynolds.
True. We're like, yeah, he could talk about fatherhood all day, but I mean, dude, you're Ryan Reynolds and you're married to Blake Lively. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Your life is not normal like our lives.
And plus, for Ryan
Um,
Reynolds, every man wants to be with you and every woman wants to be with you.
yeah, and
Like,
everybody does a Ryan Reynolds impression. It's like this generation's Christopher Walken.
yeah, exactly. So it wouldn't be relatable. It's like we
No.
are the relatable dad. We are the common folk. We are just average dads who work 9 to 5, who podcast probably a little bit more than they should for their own well-being and health. Uh, at least for myself. Maybe it's a little bit too much. Maybe it's an obsession.
It's
Maybe it's a
funny
habit.
because
I don't know.
when I was looking to start As Dad As It Gets podcast, I posted in a bunch of Facebook groups asking kind of just to get a pulse on things. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, look, it's a guy in his 30s starting a podcast."
Right?
Yeah, it's like I am creating something that I want to create, and at least one person likes it, so it's worth it. I'm not doing it to
Facts.
make money. I'm doing it for connections, like to feel connected to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's spawned the Discord channel, which is fantastic. It's
Yeah, the
that Discord
Discord's
channel is
awesome.
growing into everything you need.
Yeah, the
I saw that you
Discord
added
is.
the mental. No, wait, what was it you added?
I added two. So I added mental health.
Was it?
I added the mental health,
Yeah,
and then I added the daily debate and
that
question.
was it. Yeah, and then everybody, your question was the pineapple on pizza, and a lot of people
Yep.
were like, "Nah, yeah, I would do it." And I was like, "I'm gonna start blocking people."
No, we're trying to grow. And like, there's so many. I'm
Yeah,
looking it up right now. Like the top 15, like best first time dad podcast. There's Dad Jokes, which I've never heard of, and
never heard of
there's
it.
Dad Talk. It's a once a month half-hour podcast. They're with wannabe comedians and first time dad Tom Anderson and Derek Wenzel. And then Big Dad
Never
Energy.
heard of it.
There's a Big Dad Energy podcast. There's Della's Dad. There's Whoa Dad. Nikki Bon and Bobby, a retired drummer, trying to mend his relationship with his daughter. There's Dad versus Reality. Actually, let me just do this.
I've
This
never
is
heard of any
easier.
of these.
Dad versus Reality. Dave Barry, like, okay, like that's kind of where we're getting at right here. Like, this is probably a famous person for something. And then we have the Dad Bod Dad Pod. That's a cool name, actually.
So the only reason I know about that podcast is because I decided to I tried to get that name and I was like, what about Dad Bod Dad Pod? And we searched it and that showed up and I was like,
Yeah, first time dad, call me Papa, Dad Splaining, the fatherhood podcast. But it's like one episode a year. Like some of these probably still
yeah.
aren't going.
So
Like
let me get the podcasts that I listen to that are dad podcasts.
there's more here.
So Bluey Bros podcast, Dad's Getting Coffee is fantastic. Everyday Parents.
They are pretty good.
Let's see.
Dad's Getting Coffee. I've been trying to get them on the show forever. It has been work.
I think there's a lot of them that are very
their
busy.
Their show's really good. I like their stuff.
It is. More Than a Dad podcast is good.
Let me see. Nice. I like Dad Can We Talk. That's a solid one. I like the Unstoppable Dad Project. Girl Dad Nation. And that As Dad As It Gets one's okay. Art of Fatherhood's fantastic. I love Art. He was on the podcast a long time ago.
That's why I started listening to it. The Dad Tapes is good.
I like Not So Secret Dad Business. Modern Husbands is solid. The Secure Dad's really cool if you want to look into like home security and things like that and just how to be safer. His show is really good. Home Dad Chat, that one's really good for stay-at-home dads.
This one's not a dad podcast, but it's a parenting one. Time to Lean. Michael Vaughn, who World Shaker, he was on that recently.
I really want to get him on the show. I know he's in our Discord. Isn't he in our Discord?
Yeah, easiest way to reach him is email.
Okay, yeah, I've been wanting to have him on. I just never think about it. I didn't know this was a podcast. The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. The book, you know, with the orange cover?
Yeah.
He does a weekly podcast called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. I might listen to that. I love that book. I'm a big fan of like the concept of that book, to like putting your energy into the right bucket, into the right time and whatnot. But some of the podcasts I personally listen to, like on my Spotify, and this will make a lot of sense very quickly. It's a very short list. So the Apple Podcast is where I listen to all my parenting stuff. Once I get through all my regular stuff on Spotify, I listen to Joe Rogan, guilty. I listen to PBD, guilty. So that
what is PBD?
Patrick David or PBD is PBD. It's like another long form. It's like another long form, kind of like Joe Rogan kind of podcast. But it's kind of opposite views, opposite takes. So it adds a good little balance. Even though they've gotten more and more similar the more time I listen to them. I listen to True Crime Garage. That's my favorite true crime podcast. I love the Fantasy Footballers. I love fantasy football. I love football. So I listen to their Dynasty podcast, and I also listen to the Fantasy Football podcast. I also listen to the Spitballers podcast that they do. If you want a really funny, like wholesome, like three dudes just like joking around and cracking jokes about obscene topics, questions, and whatnot, Spitballers, highly recommend. And then a friend of mine, she just started a new podcast called the Panic Button Podcast. I'm a fan of that one. And then my girl, Dawn Brody, I've had her on the podcast a long time ago. I've got to have her on again. She hosts HILF, History I'd Like to F. She's a historian, a talking head on the History Channel. She's a mom, so HILF, MILF kind of thing right there.
That's fantastic.
Her show's fantastic. She takes such a fun... I've never been more... How do I say this respectfully? Family friendly. I've never been so invested in history than when I listen to her show.
I'm gonna have to listen to it.
Yeah, make sure you listen headphones in, because your wife will hear some of the sound effects that she uses, and she'll be like, "What are you listening
She's gonna be like,
to?"
"What are you listening to?" Don't worry about it.
She'll probably want to listen too, because it's good. It's good. Dawn she just has a way. She's a stand-up comedian. She's fantastic. I love Dawn Brody. Baseball Together, that's a friend of mine's podcast. I really like that one. And that's kind of Crime Junkies is kind of one I like to listen to too. So
I love Crime Junkies.
Crime
I get so
Junkies.
invested in Crime Junkies, and then I'll be walking my dog in the dark and get freaked out because I'm
Oh my
listening about
gosh.
people getting murdered.
That's where I'm
And
at for
I'm
True
like,
Crime Garage.
if a murderer comes at me, my dog's 50 pounds, but she's scared of a flashlight. Like, she's terrified of everything, so I'm gonna die.
So they're in Indianapolis. Aren't they moms?
I think so. I think at least one of them is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like one of them's a mom. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Ashley.
It's like you become such fans of these larger podcasts, and you're like, I really want to get them on the show, but then like, for example, with World Shaker, he is our biggest guest that we've had on As Dead as It Gets.
Mm-hmm.
He's got like a crap ton of followers on social media. And when I reached out to him, I didn't think he would ever even guest on our show. But he like, he's very down to earth.
Yeah.
I've tried to get a lot of celebrities on our show.
I remember we talked about that last time you were on. You were like, I sent DMs to this guy and this guy and this guy and this person.
Yeah. We're still doing it.
They're both moms, actually.
I think they'd be too busy to. Like, I sent emails to like the Trevor Project and all these like groups that do stuff, and they were like, well, you're not big enough yet. Your listeners aren't quite there for us to warrant it. Like, you can pay us if you want us to guest speak. I was like, no, I'm small.
They're in it for the wrong reasons. Then they're missing the point, because an audience is an audience. Like, this is a teaser. I kind of blocked off April because it's my birthday month for like a few episodes that I really, really want to do. So I blocked off April for some episodes because it's my birthday month. I want to put my episodes out there. I have a CEO of a brand I'm a really big fan of coming on. I'm recording with him on February 8th. The episode's going to come out in April. I'm super excited for that. So all it really takes is just shooting the shot. You know, it's super cool. I mean, heck, after the show, I'm probably going to reach out to both of them and be like, hey, I'm a big fan of Crime Junkies. I mean, who isn't? I host this little podcast called Young Dad Podcast. Be guest on my podcast because that'd be like super cool kind of thing.
That's I think just getting over the initial like, and I mean, with the Trevor Project, they were like, we don't have the resources to allocate to such a small podcast, pretty much.
Whatever. You don't have someone that has an extra 30 minutes in their day.
Yeah, I was like, I'll talk to the guy in the mailroom if you want. Like, just let me talk to someone. But that kind of gets in my head on a lot of things. Like, John on my podcast and I are huge fans of the podcast Dungeons and Daddies.
Okay.
It's a D&D podcast. And we've sent emails to two of the guys on there, trying to get them as guests, and no response yet. Like most of the celebrities that we've reached out to, we get no response. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but the lead singer for Bowling for Soup.
Oh yeah.
I reached out to him and I was like, hey, do you want to do this? And he was like, currently I'm not doing any press. He's like, I'm working on a podcast right now. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time, but good luck on your endeavors. Like, he actually responded and was super nice about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's dope.
I get that celebrities get, thousands of messages a day. But it's hard not to get in your head when you're not getting responses on these things.
Mm-hmm. Well, for sure. And it's really easy. Like, I find myself doing that a lot. Like, I have to go through my DMs every couple weeks, because it's really nice that at least on Instagram you can filter like your messages.
Yeah.
Like primary, general, you can just delete. So I really try to go through those, and I keep my primary ones. Like, who have I been trying to contact? Who am I over trying to contact? Who am I just needing to follow up with? Who do I not need to
Right.
follow up with anymore? Who's booked? And I can just move them over to the general kind of thing. And who in my general is just not a lost cause, but someone that I'm probably not going to get a connection with at this point. And so if they end up reaching out, they end up deciding to go through their DMs and respond, cool. If not, cool. I'm not. The big thing for me, and I actually posted on Threads about this, and I got some responses back on messages I'd been waiting for. But
Oh, maybe I
I'm
should
not
use
gonna.
Threads.
Threads is great because it'll link you. I don't know. There's something about the Threads algorithm um, that I really like. But I get random connections all the time. But what happened here? It was. Where is it? Okay. It was 4 days ago, actually. So I had a guest who was going to come on the show. He was supposed to record on Friday. He ended up bailing like 2 days before, trying to say all these things like, I need to reschedule. Do you have anything later? Trying to make it work more for him. I'm like, I don't. Like, I set my availability because that's my availability. Those are the times I have. If you can make it work, great. If not, maybe like I can make an exception and try to find something for you. Trying to like business it, right? And have a
Yeah.
business like kind of negotiation kind of talk. And he's like, well, I'm still kind of really unsure of what your podcast is. Like, what are the questions? Like, I need more prep. Like, you did the questionnaire and you booked. That's the prep. I explained that to you 3 different times that it's a free flowing conversation. Like, I don't have a lot of prep questions. I'm not going to interview you. I'm not going to like go down any like thing deep. Like, I care about respecting you. That's literally in my questionnaire. If there's a topic you don't want to talk about, please
Yeah.
put it on there.
That's in mine too.
And it ended up being like he just didn't respond. He had literally what he did was he posted about being on my show. He posted one of my logos from my logo challenge that was a concept, and it was one of the ones that was like spelt wrong. And I was like,
Yeah.
"What the crap are you doing?" I'm like, "That's fine. Like, whatever. Like, you're excited. You're gonna come on. It was gonna be his first time on someone else's podcast. Like, cool." And then he sends me a message, and then I see he deletes that post.
Oh.
And I'm like, dude, like, just be like straight up. And then I'm like, look, if we need to cancel, we'll cancel. Like, that's fine. If this is too much for you, that's fine. If you don't think we align, that's fine. I really think you should have probably listened to some of my episodes to kind of see how it goes first before agreeing. Like, at least check out my shorts or my teasers or whatever. Like, listen to a half hour of it, kind of thing. So first he asked to reschedule, no big deal, and then he canceled. And then he's like, well, I'll think about joining your show in the future, but I need more details about what we're talking about during. And then I pretty much said again, I'm like, I've already told you multiple times. Like, it's like, this is what it is. And then I straight up said, and then he deleted the post after this, I guess. I'm like, look, if you don't want to collaborate or you don't think we align based on my previous post, it's fine. Let me give your spot to someone else that does align and is more committed than you. That's all. So I should have told him, and this is a curse that me and my dad have. We can either be really nice and we'll be great, we'll be fantastic, but like if you start to play games or anything like that, like my inner Aries is gonna come out and I'm gonna tell you straight up. I'm gonna hurt your feelings, kind of thing. I'm gonna call you out on your BS. And pretty much the moral of that story was I'm like, just be straightforward and honest with me. Being a podcast host, a parent, and working a normal day job, of course, I have limited time to record. I appreciate a straight no more than having to chase you down and go into a repetitive nature of like messages, trying to go back and forth with someone. Like I don't love the back and forth. I honestly, one thing that really annoys me is when I reach out to someone and I've already exchanged messages with them, and then they want to do a call and then do a recording. It's like I don't like I get it, I do, but I don't want to call and do this like this extra like unnecessary call really um because I
But
don't
you
see
could.
the point.
I think a lot of that is like the way other podcasts kind of work. It's like with our podcast, it's very focused. So like you go on there, you talk about parenting or content creating that something around parenting.
Mm-hmm.
With other podcasts, it's like, okay, what is our topic? Like I need direction. I need to know, because a lot of things have to do with research, and people don't want to look like an idiot on social media, so they want to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what he was worried about. My issue with guests is, like, I try to be too accommodating.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I really can't record most of the time, unless it's late at night, when my daughter's asleep. But Wednesdays at like 9 Eastern are when we record typically.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll record with people, and they're like, well, Wednesdays doesn't work with me. I was like, okay, what can you do? It's like, I could do Fridays. All right, we'll go from there. Can you do this time? And I do a lot of back and forth with people, more so than I probably should.
No, I
But
get that.
I'm also and I think with collaborating with other creators, you don't want to burn bridges necessarily.
Mm-mm.
So you want to work with people, and it's like you don't know how big or small they are, especially with podcasts. It's hard to
know, like,
gauge,
their
because
numbers.
like social media is not necessarily how many people listen to something. But it's like, I don't want to burn this bridge and say no, but I mean, in reality, people just gotta, like, I've got a guy that I feel like he's trying to get me to work out with him or something. But he randomly messages me and asks me health questions on, like, how my health is doing and stuff like that. And I'm like, I mean, I'll answer him, and then it sounds like it's going to a sales pitch, so I'll kind of stop. Other people, I'm really bad about just responding, because I've got, like, that neurodivergent brain where
Yep.
I forget stuff. So I'll look at a message and be like, okay, I can't answer this right now, but I'll get back to it. And then 3 months later, I'm like, hey, so I didn't forget you, but I forgot you.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that 100%. With this
Yeah.
creator,
And
I was happy to burn a bridge, because he was stealing my content ideas. Like, while I was doing, like, Logomania, he started posting logos as well. Like, oh, what a coincidence. And
Hey.
I have people messaging me that you said that you know me, and you heard them on my show, so you're trying to get them on your show now. Like, so you're copying my content ideas. Now you're trying to take my guess. Like, come on. So if you want to take my guess, I'll take your guess.
We'll turn this into a war.
And
I think I'm different I think I'm different as a content creator, because like with the Dad's Getting Coffee podcast, when they first started,
oh yeah, I
reached
remember
out to them and talked to them a little bit, and I freely gave my ideas away. It's like, I have this, and this for a topic, and I know a lot of people are like, probably shouldn't do that. Like, my wife was like, why are you giving your secret sauce away? And it's like, I mean, maybe they can do the episode better, and I can listen to it, and I can get ideas from their stuff and pull it. But I'd like, if people want to use my content, as long as they give me credit for like, if they're using my reels or something, that's really when I really get protective. Is like, if I were to use your content and not give you any credit for it, it's like, that's wrong.
Yeah, but it's like, just tag me. Tag me at least.
Yeah. The like the Logomania thing, I mean, it's hard to come up with content ideas.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I kind of get it.
100%, but it was just like, it was night and day clear exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
So that
was you want to form this connection to for benefits for you, but like, what are you doing to benefit me?
100%. It's like, where's the two-way street here? And
Yeah.
it's super frustrating because like I don't know. I unfollowed him. I don't follow him anymore. I don't talk to him. And his just watched this stuff before.
And he clearly doesn't listen to the podcast.
No, it's like I've listened to his, and it's kind of.
I'm gonna have to.
I sent you the name. I sent you the name of it. I sent you the name of it.
I got the alert on my
I'm
watch.
I'm not gonna out it on social media, but he uses the same platform as I do, and I mean a lot of people use Riverside, but it's like too many things are just too close. So I mean, I will honestly say I've taken some of his guests and re-recorded with them, but I don't tell them straight up like, "Oh, I saw you on this podcast." I'm like, no, like, hey, I saw a random video with you in it, and I wanted to connect further and get to know you, kind of thing. I don't remember who show it was. I just played dumb. I play so dumb, and
yeah.
So, but no, man, it is what it is.
I don't think I've like tried to go after anyone's guests, but I've listened to a lot of parenting podcasts and be like, man, I should get them on.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then I just forget to do it.
100%. Well, I have new ones like follow me all the time. So what I started doing was like I'll reach out when I see like a new follower that's like a podcast or like a business page or something like that I know is like something that could be a connection. I'll send that first DM right away and be like, hey, thanks for following along. Super excited to have you. Tell me more about yourself, your podcast, whatever. I'll send that first message 95% of the time.
I worry because a lot of the and I get like with content creating podcasts and stuff like that, like it's essentially a business. You want it to grow. But I personally hate the like, and I think this is the imposter syndrome in me, like the begging aspect of, hey, come give my show a listen or do this, like advertising, because it is necessary for your content to grow, is to essentially pimp yourself out. I have a mental block with that. I can't do it. Like, we're doing good as far as numbers just without promoting. If I were to promote, our podcast would probably be huge.
Yeah.
But I can't get past that block on it. And a lot of people on social media, they do it no problem. And when I get that message that's like, hey, come listen to my stuff, I'm like, you could at least say hi first, like,
right?
Get to know me. Hey, what's up?
Take me out to dinner first.
I listen to your podcast. Yeah, don't just go straight to pulling my hair. Calm down.
Exactly, calm down there, Daddy. But no, it's 100% true. Like, it's so true, and like that's why I send the first message, because I genuinely want to get to know the person. Like, I'll exchange some messages. I get to it pretty quick. I don't waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'll slide into their DMs. I'll hit them up with a message. I have a Cliff Notes introduction of myself and my brother to make it super quick and easy. I just copy and paste that shit right over. I'm not ashamed to admit it. You guys all get the same message initially. I copy and paste it over, introduce ourselves. I get a little bit of introduction back. I'm like, cool. Hey, sounds like we have some common interests, some common views. And would you be interested in coming on? Yes, cool. Here's my calendar. Book in. I'll be back around in a week to remind you, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's why I get along with Brian from Social Loafer Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He's another one with like a very sultry voice.
I've been wanting to get him on. He's just been like kind of, as you know, we know Brian.
He's got a lot going on right now.
A lot going on. He's been struggling with his own kind of creativity blocks and whatnot. So
yeah.
But we definitely we beat that content horse into the ground, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. But that I mean, I feel like that was a good topic there. It needed to be said.
It was. It's hard to be like in this dad space and like create content and create engaging content because it's super niche. But the main problem with it, and this is what I see as the main problem, is that too many dads are unwilling to listen. Like, I think we've talked about it before,
Most
how
of
we
my
have a lot of female engagement, right? And then that female engagement
yeah,
normally translates to male engagement in time, but we don't have enough. There's not enough men willing to listen that are able or even humble enough or willing to actually sit down. Not you don't even have to sit down. You can listen to it as you work. You can listen to it as you do things. As you
yeah.
take a poop on the toilet, go ahead and listen. That's fine. I'm fine if you watch me on YouTube while you poop. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing on the
I
other side of that
specifically
screen.
want you to watch me while you poop.
100%, because I know that's going to kill about 15 minutes of the podcast, and by then you'll be engaged with it. Um, so, but no, listen to it while you're doing stuff. Listen to it while you're cleaning around the house. Listen to it while you're sitting down and bored. Listen to it while you're at work. Throw an AirPod in while you're at your desk at work. I know you can. We all do it. Don't tell me you don't do it while you're
Yeah.
working. You don't have something going on. Like, there's a time and place that you can do it. Your commute. Like, I've heard my show's great for commuting. Larry, yours is great for commuting. So it's just the problem is that more men aren't willing enough to take that first step to listen themselves because for some reason they feel it makes them weak or less or incompetent. Like, oh, I don't need to listen to a podcast. I got my shit together, dog. Like, I'm good. You're not good.
I
You're not good.
I think it's like the whole like asking for help thing. It takes a different kind of strength that a lot of men don't have mentally. That's why men don't ask for directions or how to fix something or something like that. Like, and so listening to a parenting podcast or especially dad podcast when you're a dad, that's what is difficult for a lot of men. So like women, because our viewership is mostly women, or listenership, and I think that they do it so that they can get insights on the dad psyche to help their husbands or significant others be more.
I agree on
my
that.
Discord is blowing up.
Is it? Oh, I have my notification silent.
Yeah, I got I joined a new Discord and I need to silence them because it's one of the bandit Discords.
Oh, I want to be on a bandit Discord. That's cool. But yeah, no, I agree.
They've got a lot of fan created ones. I'll invite you to them.
I like it. Just invite me to like one.
There's one.
One.
There's one bandit group or Discord that I'm in that I don't think I'm allowed to be in anymore because for a little bit I was a mod for the bandit Discord or for the bandit Facebook page, and I realized that it was a lot for me to handle, especially while doing podcast stuff. So I stepped back from it, and I just kind of dropped out. I could rejoin if I wanted to, but it's honestly to moderate a group for like 80,000 people is a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. But yeah, no, it's.
But when I dropped out of that, they kicked me out of the Facebook chats for that, which is understandable. You know, I shouldn't be privy to that information if I'm not a part of it. But they never kicked me out of the Discord.
Oh no!
And I was like,
nice.
I haven't said anything. I've just been kind of silent because it's not active often. But I don't know. I don't want to get kicked out of it.
Yeah, no, just stay quiet, stay in the background, stay in the shadows. But yeah, kind of like the men of the listening sphere podcast. Like, they're staying in the shadows.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay, bro. Like, listen to a podcast about parenting. Like, if you're struggling as a dad, like, it's cool. Like, it's actually really cool that you are going to take the initiative and listen to a podcast to become a better dad. Like, whether it's my show, whether it's Larry's show, whether it's Art of Fatherhood, whether it's Everyday Parents, whether it's, I don't know, any of the podcasts we mentioned earlier. Even
Dad's Getting Coffee.
Dad's Getting Coffee, like any of those, right? Any of those. Oh wait, no, Dad's Getting Coffee. They're on a break right now. He's on a break. I was thinking Donuts with Dads. It's Dad's Getting Coffee. He's on a break right now. I tried reaching out to him. Yeah. He's on a break. He doesn't know when he's getting back into it.
I get those mixed up.
Yeah, it was Donuts with Dudes. and Dad's getting coffee.
Donuts with Dads.
Donuts with
Yeah.
Dads. Yeah, and Dad's getting coffee. Donuts with Dads. They haven't gotten back to me. I was supposed to have them on a long time ago, ended up not working out, and then ever since then it's just been like radio silent. So I just kind of, it's one of the ones where I just stop
Right.
kind of thing. But whether it's Dad's getting coffee, Donuts with Dads, I'm pretty sure it's Donuts with Dudes.
Is it Donuts with Dudes?
Pretty sure it's Donuts with Dudes.
I'm bad with names.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names.
But
So
yeah,
if any of you guys are listening and we mislabeled these or got your podcast mixed up, blame me, and I'm not sorry, because that's who I am.
So yeah,
I worked with a guy for 6 months and called him the wrong name for 6 months straight, and he never corrected me, and I never found out I was calling him the wrong name until he quit, and I was asking where he was.
But yeah,
like, where's Keith at? And they're like, do you mean John?
Donuts with Dudes.
Okay.
And then there's Dad's getting coffee.
Maybe that's why I haven't listened to him in a while. It's because they're on a break.
Yeah, he hasn't created anything in a while. And then this is Dad's getting coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sent me a message back saying, I'm not really recording right now. I'm kind of in a place where I'm not recording. I'm like, well, when you're ready to get fired up, or if you need a Kickstarter, like, come be a guest on my show and like get kickstarted again and find it again. Hopefully I can help give that to you a little bit. So
one person, this person created one episode, and like, I guess he got kind of busy or his life got hectic. But Awfully Soft Beard podcast. His content was fantastic, and I've reached out to him a couple times to be like, you need to create more.
Mm-hmm. Heck, there are probably people that want me to create less, but I'm like, no. Absolutely
I'm gonna do what I want.
I'm gonna create more. But yeah, no, it's important. Like, if you want to be better, I feel like every dad wants to be the best dad he can be for their kid. We all do, right? We all want to be the best dads we can be.
Right.
We all want to be like Bandit. We all want to be like Dr. Huxtable or Uncle Phil or Bob from Bob's
Maybe
Burgers.
Not Dr. Huxtable.
Okay, the character. Not the actor, the character.
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, Steve Irwin. You know, we all want to be like these great dads we see on TV, right? That's who we want to be like. That's where we want to equate ourselves to be. But you think they just did it by just naturally who they are? Well, obviously there were characters portrayed, but like they did self-development. They took the time and they put the time into themselves, into their families to like reflect and to change. Like Uncle Phil, he would apologize. Like when he was wrong, he would take that upon himself when he messed up. He had emotional intelligence. Those things don't just come naturally from men. Especially for when that show was shot. You gotta think that Uncle Phil was born in the 50s, probably. If it's set in the 90s, and he's already with adult kids, like, you gotta think, like, there's no chance that an African-American man had, like, that's a trained skill. That was a learned skill. That was something he took time and effort and energy to put in. So if you are wanting to be your best dad, what do you have at your fingertips now? Podcast, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Join a supportive dads group. Join a supportive network. Listen to a podcast. Like, there is value in each and every episode of these podcasts that are still going. Like, a lot of the podcasts that are in the dad sphere, they're stopped after 20, 30 episodes. Like, our shows are probably like top 2% in the world, honestly, for like length of time and for how long they've been going and amount of episodes. Like 110, like this will be 111 or whatever. Like when it comes out, like that's insane. Like that does not just happen to most podcasts.
Exactly.
Like to get
most podcasts don't last past a year.
Most podcasts don't last past episode 5 or 10.
Yeah. I think the statistics is 12 episodes and a year.
Yeah.
Are how long most podcasts don't last. And it's like both of my previous podcasts, they lasted a little over a year, and then the people quit. But with like As Bad as It Gets, I hold a lot of the creative power. So as long as I'm willing to do it, it will live on.
Mm-hmm. Trying
But
to like
yeah,
find like how long it's gonna be, but um, for how long like they stay going. How long are podcasts active for? No, I don't care about the length. Okay, maybe I just can't put in the right search. But anyways, yeah.
Hang on.
Oh, lifespan.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. No.
Nope. Now that came up with lifespan podcast with Dr. David Sinclair.
So, most podcasts fail after a year. I'm trying to get the numbers.
Okay, so I found one. Most podcasts quit after the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
90% of podcasts don't publish more than 3 episodes. So if I'm at 111 and you're way past 3 too, we're in the top 10%.
If
And
if I labeled mine,
right, but like 90%. So I found a Reddit thread right here.
I found the same thread. I'm looking at it right now.
90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3. That's 1.8 million who quit. Of the 200,000 left, 90% will quit after 20 episodes. That's another 180,000 gone. To be in the top 1% of podcasts in the world, you will only need to publish 21 episodes of your podcast. Your competition is not the 2 million podcasts. It's the 20,000 podcasters who don't quit. So with that, we are the top 1% of podcasts in the world.
Dang.
Based on that, which means for us, we're probably in the top point, I don't know, half of that percent, honestly, to where we go. And, to kind of talk about a little bit more, I like this thread. Don't judge your success or failures as a podcaster on any one single metric like weekly downloads. That's folly. Instead, focus on your progress, mark your growth, relish your wins. If you've been podcasting for some time, do yourself a favor and go back and listen to your very first episode. Oh, no. I will not do that. That first recording to ask yourself a few questions. Am I more comfortable in front of the microphone now than I was then? Yeah, because I have a freaking mic boom and I'm not holding that crap in my hand and hunching over my desk.
Yeah.
Am I a better interviewer? I don't know. Larry, am I a better interviewer than when we were on in July last year versus now?
I mean, I don't know. I don't remember July.
Okay, that's fair. I'll take
But
that as a
if
yes.
I look at my own growth, like I feel like my interview skills have better versus because when we first started it, As Bad as It Gets, my this was really the first time I'd interviewed anybody, so I'd get nervous, and if you listen, I'll have like these little laughs before every question I ask. I was like, oh, okay, so and that's compared to now. I still do the kind of laughs a little bit, but I've done them less and less.
I love that. But yeah, I would definitely say like we've both grown in that area. Just like listening to your podcast over time. Like since we like connected very first time, like I've definitely seen a lot of growth for you as well. Am I a better writer outliner? I'm way more organized than I ever was with Calendly and questions and being able to think of them on the fly. Way better. Am I more engaging and entertaining? I think I'm way funnier than I ever been.
Yeah.
Like I'm way more competent and able to talk just freely and openly. Like I'm more willing to share my story. I get more vulnerable easier. Like I see these things just in my daily life to where it's like, oh, I can be vulnerable. I can be open. Like I can just talk and carry a conversation with really anyone. And I'm not afraid to approach like new people and have that conversation and talk and get to know them. Like that's been a huge thing. And the last question here is my podcast better today than it was when I started? 100%. Like 100%.
You learn tricks for like editing and sound design and stuff like that, and it helps. And then you like we do outlines depending on the episode. A lot of times we just kind of shoot from the hip.
Mm.
But I mean, even with my co-host, I've noticed their growth on things. But it so I've got three other co-hosts included with me. And the reason that I did that was because, for one, I hate talking to myself. I tried a podcast with just me, and it turned out like a book report. It was so boring.
Yeah.
And I got one co-host, and that was David. And then I was like, well, if David, something happens to David, I need another co-host to back him up. And so I got Tom. Sounds like I'm adopting him.
Kind of.
But after a while, I realized it's like they're fairly dependable, but their lives are chaotic because they're parents. And so in that same thing, I added a third one, John, so that should any of them be sick or not be able to record, the only time we don't record is when I'm not able to make it. If I'm there and at least one other person's with me, I'll record something. But they don't have the login to our Zencastr account. I've given it to them. They just don't log in.
No, that's important. So that, yeah, 100%. And that's why I started doing so many more guests, because like life's crazy, and it's really about making the time. And it's like, if I can make extra time available to talk to more people and to get more essentially content, but learn more myself and grow more myself, like I'll do that. Like I'll solo it. Like that's fine. Like I'm not afraid to
Yeah.
solo it. I mean, it was my idea from the beginning. It's something I wanted to keep going for a long time now. So, I mean, it is what it is. Uh, as far as like my brother when he does get on versus when he doesn't, and it's totally okay. It's totally okay because I understand. Like he has 3 kids, wife, like he works. Like I get it. Like I 100%
Yeah.
get it. Um, like it's more my thing than it ever was his thing, kind of thing. So that's just what it is. So, but yeah, honestly, like, and I think the end of this spread goes really good. Uh, don't be too hard on yourself. You may already be in the top 1% of something, and you just don't know it.
I didn't know it.
Yeah. So you may, and I think that just really resonates with like being a dad. Like you're already like the top 1% of dads to your kids. Like they see
Right.
you, and you are that like top 1%. Like you are the superhero. You are Captain America. You are the thing. You are the smiley face. You are the best boss in the world. Like you are all the things. You are the 1% to them of the best of everything. Like the best of life. Like 1,000,000,000%. You're the one. You are the top 0.0000001% of all those things to them. Take a step back and look at it and realize it. And if you really, really feel like you're top 10%, 20, 30%, well, maybe it's time for you to jump on and make some changes. Maybe it's time for you to jump in and do some things differently, become more intentional, listen to more podcasts, find new groups, interact with new people, find your community, do all the things that you keep telling yourself you should do, you could be doing, you probably need to do. In the back of your head, you're like, I probably need to do that, or maybe I would be better if I just listened to like one or two things just to kind of help a little bit. Like, are you better today than where you started? If your answer is, if you're looking over the last 3 months of your parenting, are you better today than where you were? If the answer is no, maybe it's time to make some changes. Are you better than when you first had your kid? Probably you're a lot better than when you very first had your kid. Most likely. But I feel like all these things can be like those 5 questions. Am I more comfortable as a parent now than I was? Am I a better dad? Am I a better role model and example? Am I more engaged and more present? Is my daddying better today than it was yesterday? If you're struggling in any of those areas, you could also ask, is my mental health better or worse? Worse? Are my habits better or worse? Am I taking care of myself better or worse? Some very simple self-reflection questions there. But we all need to ask those questions to ourselves as dads. It's super important. to do those things, because how do you grow? How do you become better if you don't know the answers to those questions, if you're not asking yourself those questions, and if you're not actively trying to find answers and ways to make them better? So
Yeah, and I mean, as we say on my podcast, that's as dad as it gets.
that's as bad as it gets.